Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler Virtual Book Club. And boy, do I have a conversation for us this evening. I was really just finishing up a part of this conversation, and I really do have something for us this evening. So I want to just invite those of you who are stopping by for the first time. Let me just tell you, this channel is about inspiration. Yes, it's about motivation. Yes, it's about challenging ourselves to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. Yes, all of that. It's about making sure that we show up better today than we did yesterday. All of that. It's making sure that we realize that yesterday wasn't a flop, today is not a failure. None of that is going on. It's about taking a moment in the day to have a conversation and asking ourselves, what can I glean from today? What nugget is there in today, or might there be in this conversation that I can use to show up a little bit better tomorrow than I did today? We're not calling anything unsuccessful or anything like that, but it's about doing some introspection. So if you've passed by my channel for the first time, I promise you, it's about optimism. It's about being upbeat. It's about having a great perspective and a perspective that's not gloom and doom, but it's about just looking at life and saying, what can I do to make sure I'm better tomorrow than I was today? And so we're going to talk about how we express ourselves, how we express our emotions. Are we good at that? And I want to invite people who are passing by for the first time to do me a favor. Go ahead and click subscribe. If you haven't done that, please subscribe and just keep coming back week after week. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm here for 1800 seconds. I'm here live, and we're having real conversations about real things. After you click on the subscription or subscribe button, go ahead and click on that notification bell, because it lets you know whenever I've gone live, whenever I've uploaded new content, all of those sorts of things. Do me a favor, again, one more favor. As you're coming into the chat room this evening, go ahead and click on the thumbs up. It says to YouTube, I like what that guy is talking about over there, but it also lets me know that you are enjoying the conversations. I want to thank those of you who are with me, who have been with me for a while, who've been with me for the long haul. Thank those of you who will catch the replays. I know sometimes I see some of you in the chats, and sometimes you will send me emails and say, hey, Cutler, I wasn't able to catch the live, but I caught the replay. I appreciate all of that. I read those comments. I haven't caught up on all of them, but I appreciate them. I appreciate the emails. I'm going to do better. In fact, this weekend, I'm going to take time to catch up all of the emails, and then I'm going to try to personally respond to all of them. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me. Let me just see who beat me in the chat room this evening. I call those the LTTC VIPs, those first three people who jumped into the chat. It's Annie Cutler who says, let's ride. It's T Cutler who says, happy Thursday. LTTC family, hope you all are well. T Cutler, we're doing fine. Please make sure that you give a shout out to SJ and Sloan for me as well. Tracy Johnson says, hey, everyone, good evening. It's so good to see all of you. Raydella, Paula, Queen Nita, it's good at McDinah, it's Bobby. It's good to see all of you all. I want to tell you about a conversation that I was having. I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law. We were talking about sometimes how people, they say one thing, but they mean something else. And they say that within the context of their feelings, in the context of their emotions. Have you, on a scale of 1 to 10, as we're getting started, on a scale of 1 to 10, I need you all to chat with me now, because I want to know something. I want to know, how good are you at expressing yourself? How good are you at expressing your emotions? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is not good at all, 1 is not good, 10 is exceptional or excellent. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not so good, 1 being poor, and 10 being very good or excellent, on a scale of 1 to 10, you all talk to me. How good are you at expressing yourself? How good are you at expressing your emotions? How good are you at making sure that you say what's on your heart and your mind? So you all start putting that in the chat. Put that in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at expressing your emotions? I'll go back and read those. I'm looking. I see an 8. I see a 6. I see a 7. You all talk to me, because I want to know, how are you? How do you rank yourself at expressing yourself, expressing your emotions? Because some people think that they are really really good and they're not so good. Some people think they're not so good and they actually are. So I see the eights and the sixes and the sevens coming in, and I'll go back and ask you all again to just put those numbers in. So I want to know that because sometimes we're just not so good at expressing ourselves. We're not so good at expressing our emotions. And then we wonder why people sometimes respond to us the way that they respond. Maybe it's because we have not been clear about expressing ourselves. Maybe it's because we have not been clear about explaining how we feel about things. And so why might that be? What might be happening in terms of the question may be, Cutler, do you have any tips in terms of how I can better express myself, how I can better express my emotions? Because some people say one thing when they feel yet something different. And so I want to talk about that, how to better express yourself. One of the ways that we can better express ourselves, you all invite people, tell people, if you know people who don't quite know how to express themselves, do me a favor, invite them to catch this replay or go and tell them now, Cutler is live, come on and let's talk to Cutler. I'm really, honestly, it's not a cliche. Tell them they probably need to come and spend this time with us, these 1,800 seconds that I have left. One of the things that we can do, you all, is to analyze our emotions. A lot of times we're not honest about how we feel. This is a nugget, and you all can capture this one and do whatever you want to with it. But one of the things I've discovered is that we cannot express what you suppress. You can't express what you suppress, what you hide, what you cover up, what you hope that no one sees, what you don't want to discover is there yourself. Some people are embarrassed by their emotions. Some people are ashamed of their emotions, and they're not honest about how they feel. They're not honest about their emotions, and you cannot express what you suppress. There are lots of people who struggle to some degree. They struggle socially. They have a hard time trying to understand how they feel. But I can say this, you all, the more you know about how you feel, the more you know, and the more you are willing to be honest about how you feel, the better you will become at expressing yourself. Why do I say that? Because a lot of people, I may get just stuck on this one point right here, and we may just have to pick up this conversation again, because one of the things that I hear over and over and over and over again, and you all tell me if you've heard it, there are a lot of people who will say, I'm mad, I'm angry, when the truth of the matter is they're not mad, they're sad. And I almost call this session tonight, Are You Mad or Are You Sad? Because I realize people are not so good at expressing themselves. A lot of times we say we're mad about things when we're really sad about them. We're sad, but we're too embarrassed. We're too ashamed to admit that we are sad. Why do we not admit that we're sad, Cutler? We don't admit that we're sad because feeling sad means that I feel vulnerable. We don't like to feel vulnerable. So it's so easy to mask sadness and call it, I'm mad. I'm mad about what you did. I'm angry about what you did. When the truth of the matter is you're not mad. You're sad about it. You're vulnerable, because the difference between when you take a look at are you mad or are you sad, when you're mad, you want to change the situation. But when you're sad, you've accepted the truth of where it is and you can't do anything about it. I can't undo it. I can't change it. You got married and you didn't let me know. I'm not necessarily mad about that. I'm sad. You're already married. I can't change. I can't go back. I would have loved to have been able to participate in the wedding. I would have loved to be able to be there for your happy moment. I can't change that situation. So guess what? I'm sad. So I accept the fact that it's already done, but I'm sad. Mad means that you want to exact revenge, and you feel invincible. You feel like you can challenge the world and you can take on the world. That's when you're mad. But sad means I'm vulnerable, I'm depressed, I'm hurt by it. And so you're right, Tracy. A lot of times people don't express their emotions. They mask their emotions because they think they may appear as being weak. So they struggle with being honest about how they feel. But one of the things that you must do if you're going to learn how to better express your emotions, you cannot express what you suppress. You have got to evaluate and analyze your emotions and be honest about how you feel. Think about it. The next time you hear somebody say, I'm mad, watch their response. Watch how they go on with their dialogue and their discourse to see, is that person really mad or is that person sad? Because that person just might be sad, but is too embarrassed or ashamed to admit that he or she is sad. It happens all the time. Our egos will not allow us to say, I'm sad. Because when I'm sad, I'm vulnerable. I'm affected by what you did. But may I say this to us? Conflict resolution will be more easily reached if we can admit more often that we are sad rather than mad. I need to say that again. Conflict resolution can more often be met when we will admit that we are more sad than mad. Stop telling people that you're mad and tell them that you are hurt and that you're sad and that you're disappointed by what they did, and watch how you elicit a different response. You can change the whole temperature of the room. You can change the whole temperament and the whole tenure of the conversation by being honest with how you feel. When you say to somebody, I was hurt by that, I was saddened by that, I was disappointed by that, it takes the edge off of you. And it allows them to put their walls down and bring their barriers down, because they don't feel as though they have to defend what they did, but they will then become empathetic with how you feel. You all, I'm just telling you this from my experience. People will lower their defense shields when they realize that they don't have to be defensive by what you say. They won't be offended and have to defend their behavior. Just try it. And the next time you hear someone say to you, I'm mad at you, ask them, are you mad or are you sad? Or even if you don't ask them, process in your mind, is this person really angry with me? Or is this person really hurt by what I did? Can I tell you that a lot of times friendships would be saved if we would not mask our emotions? I've seen friends walk away from each other because their ego would not allow them to confess that they were sad instead of mad. Oh, I was just mad. I was upset. I mean, I just wanted to blow the roof. No, you didn't want to blow the roof off of anything. You were hurt. But your ego won't allow you to admit that you're hurt. And so because your ego will not allow you to admit that you're hurt, you will sacrifice years of friendship for ego. Let's just call it what it is. I'm challenging us tonight. I know this station, our channel, is about inspiring and motivating ourselves to become better, but sometimes we've got to be challenged to be better. We've got to be challenged. Friendships, relationships have ended because of ego. Ego will not allow me to say I'm sad. Ego will not allow me to say I'm hurt. So I sacrificed friendships. I sacrificed relationships. I sacrifice business dealings. Come on, y'all. We've got to do better. We're talking about wanting to be better. Let's challenge ourselves. And even if this does not apply to us, then here is the tool to put in our arsenal so we can help other people. I stop when people say to me that they're angry or mad. I stop and I listen. And I listen to all the indicia of whether or not they are sad or whether or not they are mad. I got to keep going. But Tracy, you're right. Many relationships could be saved. McDina, yes, it's good to always ask questions for clarification. We need to do that. We need to do that, you all. And then in terms of making sure that we can better express ourselves, can I tell you something else that we ought to do? I say this all the time. Writing is powerful. Learn to write things down. It is so powerful. And why would I say that within the context of how we can better express ourselves? Because when you can see what you're thinking, you can say what you're thinking. I don't know where these are nuggets that are just coming, you all. When you can see what you're thinking, when you can write it down, then you can say what you're thinking. Learn to write down. If you're not that good at expressing yourself, especially expressing yourself on the spur of the moment, impromptu, spontaneously, if you're not good at that, then learn to write down how you feel. Because when you see it, you can say it. It will stop some of us from stumbling over our words. It will cause us to think clearly about how I feel. It will help us to be very deliberate and intentional with regard to what we say. It will allow us to see and process, yes, this is how I feel. Learn to write it down. Don't just pick up the phone and start calling people and giving them a piece of your mind, but process how you feel. One, make sure that you truly evaluate your emotions. And then second, make sure that you write it down, because writing it also helps you to process the truth of how you feel. Writing it also gives you an opportunity to say or ask yourself, is that how I really feel? Is that what I really mean? You won't stumble over your words. Yes, when you can see it, when you can see what you're thinking, you can say what you're thinking. Journaling and planning, even it really helps you all. Writing is an art that is therapeutic, and it helps on so many levels. Just remember that when I can see what I'm thinking, then I can say what I'm thinking. And I dare say for many of us, we should probably use this phrase: until I can see what I'm thinking, I shouldn't say what I'm thinking. Because a lot of times our words, and I know the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so if we learn to write life and then speak life, you won't have to retract the death that we've spoken. All right? So let's do that in terms of better expressing ourselves. Yes, analyze, evaluate your emotions, write things down. And then I have to say this, y'all. Let's learn how to consider another's perspective. Yes, Tracy, I do that sometimes before a call so I don't go off topic or get off topic and say something I regret. Absolutely, because when the bell has rung, you can't unring it. You can't unring the bell. You can't cause me to unhear what I heard you say. You can't cause me to unprocess what my mind has already processed. And while people would try to be forgiving, you all, while people would try to be forgiving, forgiveness means I've processed what you did. I've processed what you said. And now I have to discipline myself so that I don't respond to it in a certain way. That's what forgiveness is. I heard what you said. I experienced what you did. And now I have to discipline myself so that I don't respond in a certain way. That's what forgiveness is. I didn't forget it. But I'm disciplining myself so that I don't process a certain way. But if we don't put it out there, then people don't have to work so hard at disciplining themselves. And we don't have to work so hard at disciplining ourselves. So let's learn how to better express ourselves, you all. Let's get those 6s up to 7s and 7s up to 8s and 8s up to 9 and 9s up to 10. Yeah, let's learn to write things down. McDonough, I use that particular scripture so many times. I reference it. Write the vision, make it plain. I say that a lot of times. Just write stuff down. So here's another tip. Here's another helpful hint in terms of if you want to know how to better express yourself, consider another perspective. For goodness sakes, you all know I'm always talking about perspectives. It is how you see things, how you think about things. Is there another way? We learned this, even if we don't learn the cliche itself. One of the things that we know from having lived as long as we have is that self-preservation is the first law of nature. Quite often, the truth of the matter is we are self-focused. We are self-centered. It is about self-preservation. That is the first law of nature. And that's how we respond so many times. But the best way to express yourself is by striving to be empathetic. striving to be objective, striving to learn how to see things from the other side. Consider another perspective. Yes, Jay Song for you. Consider another perspective. My perspective is not necessarily the only perspective. My perspective is not necessarily the best perspective. My perspective is not necessarily the right perspective. Learn how to put yourself sometimes in another person's shoes, in another person's positions. People are more willing to hear what you have to say, and you will be more compelling if you would only consider another perspective. Let me see this thing here. Maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way of seeing this. I'm seeing things from my vantage point, from what is called my situated perspective. That's how we see things. We see things easily from our vantage point. This is who I am. This is how I be. This is how I show up. This is my experience. But consider another person's perspective. I just want to put that out there, because when you consider another person's perspective, again, what are we doing? We're allowing them to lower their guards, lower their defense shields, because it lets them know, I see you, I hear you, I give value to what you bring to the table and to this experience and to this conversation. So in order for me to better express myself, I need to be willing to consider another perspective. One of the things that I have written in, at least in one of my books, it's about food. It's about how people's cultures, people's their routines, their traditions. One of the things that I learned years ago is that what my family does is not what every other family does. How my family shows up is not how every other family shows up. So I don't go into every situation with the expectation that things are going to be like my family did them. I don't go into any other situations expecting that when I go to your house for dinner, that the food on your dinner table is going to be like my mother or grandmother or great grandmother prepared. If I go to your home for the holidays, it is not my expectation that you're going to decorate your house like my mother did. If I show up for Thanksgiving, one of the things that my family does, we have seafood night the Wednesdays before Thanksgiving. That's just a tradition that we've been doing now for years. If you invite me to spend the holiday with your family, it is not my expectation that you all are going to have a seafood night that Wednesday night. That's what we do. That's what we did. Every Christmas, we were at my great grandparents' house. That was just what we did. We eat chitlins and we eat souse, and those are the things that we do. It is not my expectation that everyone else does that. And that's just those kinds of experiences. It is not my expectation that people will handle conflict like I handle it. Most J Song for you, yes, most of the time there is another perspective, but we are more comfortable with our own perspective or way of doing. Absolutely. We are more comfortable. And because we are comfortable, it takes us out of our comfort zone to consider another perspective. If we're going to learn how to express ourselves, we have to go through some degree of discomfort. Yes, McDina. Most people know about the story where the lady thought the man was eating her cookies at the airport, but found her bag and her purse. It's a simple story. The lady was at the airport and she saw this man eating, and she thought, okay, he's eating my cookies, but I'm just gonna let him eat them. And I'm gonna think harshly of him. Or she thought whatever she wanted to think of him. Come to find out, She looked in her purse and realized her cookies were in her purse, but consider all of those thoughts that she had thought about that man. We have to learn to consider another perspective, you all. That's all I'm saying. If you want to better express yourself, consider another perspective. Consider another perspective and learn how to walk out of your comfort zone for the sake of expressing yourself, for the sake of civility. You will deal with temporary discomfort. But at some point, it works together for the good of the whole situation. You will become better at learning how to express yourself. I'm just putting it out there, and I hope I'm helping us tonight, because if this does not apply to you, you all, I promise you, it will help somebody in your circle. Have I been talking for almost 1,800 seconds already? I hope this is good conversation. Because I want us, again, if you have not rated yourself yet in terms of how well you express yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not good and then 10 being really, really good, I want you to just put that in the chat. Put it in the chats, because I've seen 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. Thank goodness I haven't seen any 1s. Probably haven't seen any 10s, because yes, we can all do better. We can all do better. And I might just need to share this one and just sort of close out this conversation this evening, you all. But the question is, how good are you at expressing yourself? We're talking about wanting to be better, you all. I'm telling you this, I want to be better at everything I do. I want to be better. I want to be better at expressing myself, because I'm careful about the impact that my words might have on somebody else. It bothers me. I'm concerned about how you would interpret and how you will ingest and how you will be affected by my words. I'm concerned about that. And so I want to become better at expressing myself. Can I suggest to us this evening, probably in this final tip, and I'll pick up with some more the next time we get together and chat, the final tip that I would offer us tonight, and again, I'm just going to have to come back and talk about this again, but the final tip that I want to offer us this evening in terms of how to better express ourselves is to make sure that you don't get better without practice. You don't get better without practice. So here's what I would suggest. Get some feedback about how you express yourself. I wish I could do a clinic and we were all together and I can really see how in a clinic situation, in a practicum situation, how we really do express ourselves. I may just have to do that one day. Pandemic gone and all that, when the pandemic is down and all that kind of stuff, really just hold a clinic about how to better express ourselves. Because that way we can give each other feedback. One of the things, and I'll conclude with this, one of the things that we need to do is get feedback. If you're not good at doing something, practice it. In your individual circles, get feedback about how you express yourself, and be willing, for goodness sake, allow people to tell you the truth. You will not get better with people lying to you. I want friends in my life that I can trust, but I also want friends who will tell me the truth. Queen Nita says a Zoom clinic would be awesome. I may have to consider that. See if my producers can help me, Nita, put that stuff together. J Song for you. Yes, I wonder if our friends would rate us the same as we do. They probably would not. Yes, McDonough, yes, a Zoom meeting with different scenarios and different situations. I may have to do that, you all. I'm telling you. Learn how to get, so that way we can get feedback. Because if you're not good at something, practice it. Practice and get feedback. Get feedback from someone who knows what they are doing. I wonder, Ray Della, that certainly was a good question that he asked. I wonder if our friends would rate us the same as we do. Listen, based on what you all have given me tonight, based on what you all have put in the chat tonight, call a friend of yours and ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate me in terms of how I express myself? Don't give them any other lead situations. Don't give them any other questions. Just ask them that. How would you rate me on how well I express myself? Tell them, with 1 being not good and 10 being excellent, how would you rate me? And see if they would rate you the way that you rate yourself. Queen Nita, I'm with you. I want friends that give honest, creative criticism that helped me grow and improve myself. I'm with you, my friend. I want the same thing. And so I thought I would open this conversation because, again, I realized from talking with my sister-in-law when we were having that conversation, a lot of people don't know how to really express themselves because they're not true about how they feel. I'll stop here. I'll pick up again. I promise you, I'll pick up the next time we talk about. But I'm really passionate about this. You all probably been, those of you who've been with me for a while, you all know that I'm passionate about how we express ourselves. I'm passionate about being concerned about the power and the effect that your words have on other people. I'm passionate about making sure that we think about what we say. I'm passionate about making sure that we are clear in our communications. That is my passion, because I have learned, as Tracy was suggesting, as some of the others of you have suggested, when the bell has rung, you can't unring it. You can't unring it. It reminds me, and I'll go. It reminds me, there's a scripture that talks about how obedience is better than sacrifice. Uh, in olden days, whenever people did wrong or erred, one of the things that they had to do to get themselves back on track, they had to offer a sacrifice. Whenever they were disobedient, they had to offer a sacrifice so that they could get back on track. So the scripture that says obedience is better than sacrifice, it's better to let me cutlerize that. It's better to get it right the first time so that you don't have to seek forgiveness. That's really what it means. Obedience. It's better to get it right the first time rather than having to make the sacrifice to get back on track. Stay on track. Y'all, I want to say, Paula, you're right. We don't always see ourselves the way our friends see us. So we are harder on ourselves. And you know what, Paula? Sometimes we are harder on ourselves, but I think there may be a smaller segment of the population who not necessarily are harder on themselves, but sometimes our egos don't allow us to be true when we critique ourselves as well. So, my friend, I actually love your answer. I agree with you, but I also agree that there's another segment who are not necessarily harder on themselves, but ego gets in the way, especially when we're talking about our emotions. You all meet me here the next time. I got to keep going with this conversation. So do me a favor. Let's continue to build community. Let's continue to maintain connectivity. You all stay safe, stay sane, keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. Tell people we are enjoying our conversations. And if you haven't done so already, do a thumbs up on the conversation. Invite other people to come and be a part of the Let's Talk to Cutler community. And you all know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. I'll talk to you all the next time. And until then, next time, tell somebody else, come on, let's talk to Cutler. Listen, I'm just trying to help save your life. I'll talk to you all later. Bye. Good night.